What's up YouTube? Jason here with Bite My Bits. This is kind of an off-the-cuff video. I was kind of throwing around the idea of whether or not I even wanted to make this video just because it's kind of repetitive at this point. But if you guys watched my last video about Zeus, the new... thanks to a comment in one of the other videos, I've decided to name my new Plex Media server Zeus. Just the server itself. I like that name. I don't know any deeper meaning to it. It's easy to type in anyway. So I'm working on Zeus still, and it has actually been delayed for a reason that I can't really talk about just yet, but as soon as that reason is finished, I will be able to continue on rebuilding through the server. But until then, I've been working on cooling steel. Now, or still, not steel, but still. If you watched the last video, I was playing around with testing a new cooling method where I hooked up kind of a ghetto little setup where I hooked cardboard up to some fans, and just to see if I was using that just to see if it would work. So as it turns out, it worked, but it didn't work. It was good enough cooling for what I wanted, but it wasn't good enough cooling for what it needed. And by that I mean my CPU was idling, and this is idling like 51 to 55%. Put it under load, 77, 81, 82, right? And that's just not good. So here's what I did, and I'm sorry if this is another update to cooling, but bear with me here. This is actually a solution, and I'm finally done, so that's good. What I actually went and did is I went to Newegg and I ordered some server class or some server motherboard CPU cooling solutions that have fans attached to them. So it's replacing these. These were the original ones that came with the processor. So all this is basically just like a passive cooling thing where it uses the fans from the front or the motherboard or the front of the server that was super loud, the ones that sounded like jet engines. It had two of these, and they were just not meant for the cooling that I was trying to do, so they weren't keeping the temperatures down. So I went and I bought these. Pretty much similar, they're a little bit bigger in size, but they also have fans hooked up to them. So that was actually a huge thing, because that got my temperatures, looks like we're idling now in 35s, 30s, 28s, some of those. Overall it looks like 36 and 37 for the full ID, so that's a huge improvement from what I was running before. Also, if you follow me on Twitter, I did post a screenshot where I was running a test, like a CPU and a RAM test, for I think it was like 10 or 15 minutes at that time. I actually ended up running it for like 35 minutes. The results were still the same, where the total temperature under load with the new cooling setup that I have is like 50 to 55. So, and that is amazing. Idling, I'm like sometimes sub 30s, but under load, 50, 55. So that's badass. Now, a few people were making jokes because I was using cardboard in the last video, but they didn't understand, apparently, that it was literally just for a test before I went out and spent $60 on fans to do this. So now that I actually figured out that would work, and I have to attach this, but I'm gonna take this out. So now that I figured out it worked, I actually went through and custom made a bracket to hold fans in the server. That way little cutouts down here and on here, so I can pass cables through them, but it's 340 millimeter Noctua PWM fans. Now these things are super quiet and I love them. I've used them in my other systems, so I am totally sold on Noctua. That's why I went out and bought some more. Actually, Noctua sponsored the first video. This one I just went out and bought them because I like them that much. I ran into a problem though, and this has actually been something that's delayed my server even more, and that was I have absolutely no PWM control, fan control, with this server motherboard. At all. Non-existent. It's not in the BIOS. I can't load up Windows and hook up SpeedFan. I just can't do it. It's not there. It does not exist anywhere. In fact, SpeedFan doesn't even have the correct configuration to read the speed of the fans at all, right? And the problem is that when I boot in, whether I'm booting into Unraid or I'm booting into Windows, I installed Windows on SSD standalone, not even a VM, but just standalone, just for this development process. Nothing could read it, nothing could change it, and it was always at like minimal, like 600 RPMs or something probably. I mean, it was super low. So the cooling, albeit was good or decent, it wasn't as good as it should have been. So I went out, I was looking for some PWM fan controllers, and I was looking at some of the pricing and the setup, and I was just tossing around some ideas, and I just realized I gotta figure out a different way, right? So my idea here was to take some of these things that came with the Noctua fans. Thankfully they give you a bunch of crap, but I was gonna use these little Molex connectors that go to 3-pin, and then I even chopped off some of the tips here so I could hook up a 4-pin to it, and then just basically run cables and noise reducers or splitters or whatever I needed off of these to run everything in here that's 4-pin just at a constant rate. I was thinking, you know, that would just keep everything at a higher RPM, and if I needed to, I can use a noise reductor cable that comes with Noctua as well. However, when I got in here, I realized that the back of the plate right here is actually standalone fan connectors. They're 3-pin fan connectors on the back plates of the hard drive thing. So that's the hard drive back plate that houses all the hard drives. So I just went through and hooked them all up. Said, hey, what the hell? Plugged them all in. I ended up using a noise reduction cable for these fans, and at first I had it split with just one noise reductor, and it seemed like they were too quiet. Then I ran them separately with 2 noise reductors, but them on their separate channel, and I don't know. I don't really know if it made a difference, but sounds like it did, felt like it did. Either way, now all of them are running at a constant speed, and the noise is completely bearable, even comparable to this server as it's running. Maybe even a little quieter, maybe not. I don't know. This one has much hard drives. This one does not yet. So either way, cooling and sound is officially solved. Now that that's out of the way, cooling is set up. I got great airflow, lots of exhaust coming out. I'm gonna hook up some little plastic, or I'm gonna put some plastic pieces in there to try to keep the RAID cards cool. I'm really just kind of hoping that I can keep those cool. I did install Windows just to install the Mega RAID software for LSI, and that was supposed to allow me to see the temperatures of the RAID cards, but it wouldn't let me. So I'm just praying to the Noodle Lord that it's going to keep them cool enough to work. And if they fail, oh well. You know, that's what I'm looking at. If they fail, oh well. I'll just buy new cards that have more spaces in them and maybe possibly free up a PCI slot for something else. I don't know. But I am working on a video right now, and that video has actually been delaying some stuff for me, mainly for hardware reasons. And as soon as that video is done and launched, I will have that hardware, and I will be able to start building my array in here. Now that I kind of got the cooling figure out, once I can start building the array, and I have to wait until this next video is done, and I'll explain later. I can't really explain now. But as soon as that's done, as soon as I can start building the array, and then I can start copying stuff to it, then I can start running my test just to see how much this processor can handle. And when I installed Windows 7, I thought to myself, you know what? Let's get into Cinebench, right? And see what the numbers are, and compare that to what else I got, right? And this is cool. I was hoping for a little bit more, but this is pretty cool. My 5960X is like 1698 or something, almost 1700 Cinebench score. But Zeus rocks a 1349 Cinebench score. So that's pretty cool. So that means that Zeus is kind of, sort of, possibly, maybe not so much, a little bit keeping up with my main 5960X. So that's awesome. It is only 2 gigahertz per core, but there's 32 threads that you can run through this thing. So it's definitely going to be cooking. I cannot wait to see what this can handle. And honestly, I don't even know if I'm going to have enough devices or clients or Ethernet speed to even test it thoroughly. Possibly, maybe, I don't know. Maybe in the next video. So anyways, guys, sorry for the off-the-cuff update, and sorry that it's also another cooling update, but the good news is that cooling is finally settled. I have it done, set up, ready to go. Now I'm just waiting to start building the array, to do my test, to see exactly what Zeus can handle, and move forward and have my new server up and running. It's going to be awesome. So, yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, and have a good day. working on some custom fab work for a fan wall bracket thing that's going to replace this. It doesn't look very much better than that, but it is metal, and I did, you know, hammer out the sides, so technically I'll be able to like screw holes in there and actually attach it to the case, and then, you know, slide it in and, you know, have room for all the cables and shit. So work in progress. I have 3 Noctua fans on order, plus 2 actual fans with, you know, attached to coolers for the 2 CPUs. So cooling is going to get better. Well, I got 2 holes cut. It's definitely not clean. Having some issues with my little fake crappy Dremel. Had to kind of rig that one up. But I'm on my last bit. This little bit here. So I only have 1 hole to cut, but it takes almost a full bit just to cut it, and that one's almost gone. So yeah, might have to run back to Lowe's. It is not pretty, but it might work. Maybe. From 55 to 35s, 37s, 32s. Heck yeah. Much better. Very, very better.